Alright, this is block 5 from topic 1 using ratios. You should turn to problem 1 in block 5 in your workbook. Remember, you might need to pause the video at various spots to catch up writing, or if I tell you to pause it, to talk with your group members. So first thing, let's think back to when we were mixing yellow and blue paint the other day. And the ratio that we used was 1 part yellow to 1 part blue. And when we mixed that, it made a dark green color. It was like a perfect green. What if I wanted to make a lighter shade of green? How would I change the ratio of yellow and blue paint then? So you can pause the video and talk with your group members of how you might change the ratio and what the color might look like with the different ratios. Okay, so that is what we're going to be discussing in today's lesson. So we have some more paint here, and this time they're giving us a target color, and they are showing us that the ratio of blue paint to yellow paint is 1:1 right now. So watching them pour 1 part blue and 1 part yellow, they mix it and they get that target green color dead in the center because it was 50-50 equal parts and got that target green color. Just refreshing our memory. What if I wanted to make double the amount? Now they're pouring 2 parts blue, 2 parts yellow, and I still get that good target green area that I want because it was equally divided between the 2 color paints. These ratios ended up reducing down to 1:1. 2 to 2 reduces to 1:1. Okay. So it says, can you make different amounts of the same shade of green? Enter a number of parts of each color, then click pour and mix button. So you can pause the video and talk about different ratios you can use. I'm going to test a few ratios. Well, if I wanted to make 3 times the amount, I might put 3 here and 3 here. I would pour 3 parts blue, 3 parts yellow, mix, and I'm going to get that target color green. But if I changed this and only multiplied this guy by 3 and not the yellow by 3, and I poured that, you will end up seeing I'm not getting that target green. It is more blue because I poured 3 parts of more blue, so the scale is over on this side. So it has to be equal parts because it's 1:1. So 3 to 3, 4 to 4, 5 to 5, anything like that. Alright, so we're looking at problem 1 now, and 1A is where we're going to start writing, starting on the next slide. So it says if you wanted to exactly fill 1 gallon or 8 pints, so 8 pints is in a gallon container with the same shade of green, how many pints of yellow and blue should you use? Enter the number of pints of each color. So I need 8 pints, and I still want that same green target color that's in the middle. So the ratio of blue paint to yellow paint, we still have 1:1. So I need to know what half of my gallon container would be. I know there's 8 pints, so half of it's going to be 4. So half is going to be 4 blue and 4 pints yellow. I would pour the yellow So when I mix these, I get that target area green. I wouldn't have if I entered the wrong amounts here, like a 4:3, because it wouldn't have reduced down to a 1:1 ratio. So to answer the question, how many pints, said if you wanted to exactly fill 1 gallon 8-pint container with the same shade of green paint, how many pints of yellow and blue should you use? Well, I had to use 4 blue and 4 yellow, so that's what you should write on 1A. And to use 4 pints of blue, 4 pints of yellow. Okay, moving on to 1B. Says you filled a gallon container with 4 pints yellow paint and 4 pints blue paint. By what scale factor did you multiply the original mixture of 1 pint yellow, 1 pint blue to get the correct shade of green? So when I just did that problem, what scale factor did I use? My ratio was 1:1. Now it's 4:4. So what was it multiplied by to get 4? Well, 1 times 4 is going to give me 4. So my scale factor was 4. That was 1B. Alright, we're moving to 1C. Okay, 1C says a new shade of green is made using the ratio of blue paint to yellow paint of 1/4 to 3/4. How many pints of blue and yellow paint do you need to make a gallon of this shade of green paint? Okay, so there's a couple different strategies we could use to solve this. We're going to go through both strategies. It's just either strategy is right. It's just how you go about thinking about it. So this first person, strategy 1, they filled 1/4, then 3/4 to make one hole, and they kept doing that until the whole container was filled. Then they combined all their blue and saw that they had 8 sets of 1/4, which equaled 2 pints of blue. Then they combined all their yellow, and they had 8 sets of 3/4, which gave them 6 pints of yellow. So that is one way about going about thinking about it. So you need to write these 2 lines under strategy 1. 1/4 times 8 equals 2 pints of blue paint. 3/4 times 8 equals 6 pints of yellow paint. That's when they needed to make a whole gallon using this ratio. I'll replay that visual again. They poured 1/4, then 3/4 to make one hole. They kept doing that 8 times because 8 pints are in a gallon. They multiplied that and got 2 when they combined all the blue. And when they combined all the yellow 3/4, they got 6 pints. Alright, strategy 2. Remember, you can pause the video if you need. Strategy 2, they took this ratio and they changed it to whole numbers. They multiplied by the denominator and saw it's 1 part blue to 3 parts yellow. So they filled 1 part yellow to 2 parts blue twice. I'm going to replay that because it went a little fast. They got rid of the denominator by multiplying by 4 and got 1 to 3. So they filled 1, 3, 1, 3, combined all the ones, and they had 2 of them. So there was 2 pints of blue, combined all the yellows. There was 2 sections of yellow, so it became 6 pints of yellow. So this is what you should write for strategy 2. A couple different ways you could have thought about it. So pause the video if you need to finish recording that. Okay, we're going to look at something else. This is not going to be in your textbook, so you're just going to watch for a second. It says this shade of green was made twice. Oh, I'm sorry. This shade of green was made using twice as much yellow paint as blue paint. How could you write the relationship as a ratio? And what is an associated rate for a ratio? Remember, a rate is per 1. It's got to be brought to 1. And it's got to use the word per. So we're going to see what they're going to do here. They want to get this shade of green. It looks like it's going to be a little lighter than the other green we've been dealing with. Okay. So they found the ratio of yellow paint to blue was 2 to 1. So there was more yellow than blue. That's what made it a lighter color. So the rate was 2 parts yellow per 1 part blue. It was 1 part blue to 2 parts yellow. And it made it that lighter color. This is a rate, that is a ratio. So if they're asking for 2 different things, ratios are ratio symbols. Rate has a per 1 something. So think about the associated rates of the yellow paint per blue paint. If you change the rate, you will change the shade of the mixed paint. You can experiment by moving the rate slider. So right now, the rate slider is on 2. It's 2 to 1 right now for the blue paint. So it's 2 yellows for 1 blue part. If I change it to 3, I'm adding more yellow. I'm getting a lighter color green. That's a 3 to 1. 3 parts yellow per 1 blue. Or 4 to 1. Got a really light green color. So it's 4 yellows per 1 blue. Blue is still 1 part. And then, really light green. 5 parts yellow per 1 part blue. So we're changing all sorts of colors. The 1, this was 50-50. We get that dark green. So I'm changing the rate of yellow and it's making it lighter. What will happen if you keep the rate the same, 2 parts yellow, 1 part blue, and you adjust the quantity of the blue paint? So if I keep the rate the same, but I'm adding more blue paint, so it's still right now 2 to 1, but I add more blue paint, I'm also adding more yellow paint to keep the same color. So anytime I'm adding more blue, I'm adding more yellow because I'm keeping my rate the same to keep that same color. Okay, yellow's been added and blue. It's still 2 to 1, 2 yellows to 1 blue every time I move it. Those are all related rates. It says now experiment with a scaling different shades of green. You can use the Alright, so it says rate of yellow per blue. In my slider here, my rate of blue, I'm just keeping the rate the same. Here, I'm not keeping the rate. It won't let me. I'm not keeping the rate the same. Here it's 1 to 1. There it's 2 parts yellow to 1 part blue. Or I could go 3 parts yellow to 1 part blue. So keeping the rate the same here, changing the rate here. Alright, now I'm moving to question 2 on the back. We're going to look at some different color paints finally. It says the red and the blue paint will combine to make different shades of purple. This shade has a ratio of 1 part blue paint to 2 parts red paint. Enter a number of parts of paint of the color to make the right shade of purple. Are they calling that purple? I guess so. Looks kind of reddy to me, but I guess it's got some blue. I need to create this color. So if I do, it says 1 part blue, so 1 part blue to 2 parts red. If I pour that, see if I get that color that they're asking for, and I mix it together, and I ended up, it looks a little lighter, but they say I'm correct, so I guess I'm correct. It was 1 part blue for every 2 parts red paint to make that color. So, the question said you have, sorry, lost my spot here. It says you have 4 pints of red. How many pints of blue must you use to make the same shade of purple? So if I have 4 of red here, how much blue do I need to keep that same ratio? I would think it's 2, because looks like my scale factor was 2. I would mix that. You say I'm correct. So to answer 2A, they asked how much blue paint. I would need 2 pints of blue paint for question 2A. Alright, moving on. Ooh, we gotta make an ugly color. Brown paint. It says the brown paint has a ratio of 1 part purple to 1 part yellow. Well, we don't see a purple paint here, but do we now know how to make purple paint? We've been making purple paint, so I guess we're going to have to make purple paint. So remember, you need blue and red paint in the ratio of 1 to 2 to make purple. List 2 different ratios of blue to red to yellow that will make that ugly brown color. Alright, so I need to make this ugly brown color. I know that red and blue will make purple. So I'm going to say that I'm going to have to make the purple first. So that says the purple paint is a ratio of 1 blue to 2 red. So I'm going to do 1 blue, 2 red. Now I need to figure out how much yellow I need to make this color here. Okay, well, I see a 1 part yellow. Not exactly sure that would be right, but let's test it just to see what would it turn out to look like. See if we get that ugly brown color. And it ended up turning just a dark red. I needed more of a brown color. So I need more yellow, it seems like, for this ratio. So the ratio, where did it say that? It said it was 1 part purple to 1 part yellow. Well, how many parts is the red and blue taking up? Well, it's taking up 3 parts. So for purple, the red and blue, to be equal to yellow and be 1 to 1, the yellow is going to have to be 3. Because these 2 add up to 3, and these 2 make a purple. So this is 3 to 3, or 1 to 1. So that ratio helps us We have like a ratio inside a ratio. So I'll pour the blue, pour the red, pour the yellow, and then mix that guy, and I've got the yucky color that they were looking for. Okay, again, this is a 3, because this makes a purple together. And they said I needed 1 to 1. 1 part purple to yellow. Alright, so your answer for 2B will be 1 blue, 2 red, 3 yellow. Or I guess I could have gone 2 blue, 4 red, and then 6 yellow. I just doubled my recipe there, but that would also work. Alright, moving on to 2C. Alright, 2C says, suppose you want to make exactly 1 gallon, which is 8 pints of brown paint. Again, with that ugly color. How many pints of blue, red, and yellow paint do you need to make exactly 1 gallon of brown paint? Okay, so, see what they come up with here. First, they're looking for a scale factor. Okay, so they first are looking for a scale factor. And they got a number 6, and we're like, where did they even get 6 from? But remember, my ratio was 1 to 2 to 3. And when I added all that up, I had 6 parts. And right now, I need 8 parts. Why do I need 8 parts? Because there's 8 pints in a gallon. So I have 6. I need it to be 8. So I need something to multiply by that's going to get me to 8. Well, that's going to be a weird number because it's not going to be a whole number. So what they did is they said, well, I'll replay the video here. They decided to divide by 6 and cancel out to both sides and had 8 over 6, and that reduced to 4/3. So the scale factor that they used and found is 4/3. So you need to write this down under 2C because you had to find a scale factor. When you're done writing it, you can hit play again. Now we actually need to find out how many pints of each color we actually need to make that terrible brown color. So this next video is going to show how we're using our scale factor to find each paint. Our scale factor was 4/3. We knew that our ratio was 1 to 2 to 3. So I took those and multiplied that by my scale factor. So I did 1 times 4 divided by 3, and that reduced to 1 1/3. Then I did 2 times 4 is 8. Then I had 8/3, reduced that, and that gave me 2 2/3 of red. Then 3 times 4 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So I had 4 pints of, well, that's a typo there. That should say yellow paint. And they knew when I added all 3 of these up, it's going to give me my total of 8 pints, which is equal to a gallon. So you need to take a second to jot all this down so you have it in your notes. Alright, you will notice that there isn't any homework out of your textbook, that there is going to be computer work for us to do. So we're going to work on the, more practice. And thanks for listening. Subscribe.